I am a planner with a GIS specialty, which is map making. And I spearheaded the project to get the first National Water Trail in the state of Michigan. So I was really excited to host this National Water Trail Forum today and host them in St. Clair County and to show our water trail.
I was surprised it was in Michigan. I was very glad it was in Michigan because we have 2 dedicated national water trails. That's big. I think we're the only state with 2.
It really is everything we had hoped for. Being a part of the planning team, we were hoping to get folks together that they're working on water trails from around the country and give them an opportunity to network and share, and that's what's happening.
The first day of the forum yesterday, we learned all about the 12 trails that are represented of the 18. We learned, had presentations from 12 of them. And it really highlighted how different all 12 are. We all have our own issues and we all have star points, shining pearls that are within our trail. We also have needs.
Well, the conference brings me out. I'm interested in finding out a little bit more about water trails and what makes them click. What funds them, who's involved in them, what it takes to create one.
There was a panel yesterday. There was some great discussions about how to open up our rivers to audiences that we don't often appeal to. In particular, we were talking about urban youth and some of the barriers that keep urban youth from accessing our rivers and recognizing the natural and recreational opportunities that come with that.
And I especially had a good time last night in the Huron River, the second National Water Trail in the state, with Elizabeth Riggs. And we did the Argo Park Cascades, which it's amazing you can do some rapids in the middle of the city of Ann
Arbor. To see the Great Lakes and be out on the Great Lakes is pretty awesome. To be at the Lake Huron today and look across it, this ocean-like feel. It's really wonderful.
This is my first time in Michigan. We drove up to kind of see the state, the U.S., and first time to see any of the Great Lakes. It's a lot bluer than I thought. It reminds me a lot of the water in Florida, minus all the waves and the salt. The lighthouse gives you a beautiful perspective of it all. You can even see Canada. The stairs are pretty cool. A little vertigo, but we managed to get down. And I think I took the winning picture for the little National Water Trail Conference.
Well, the lighthouse is a draw, and it's on the National Water Trail. It's on the Island Loop route. And it really teaches people about the history of the trail.
This is the oldest lighthouse in the state of Michigan, second oldest in all the Great Lakes.
I think the lighthouses and points of interest in general along water trails tend to make them more accessible and more interesting to general public, not necessarily the paddling enthusiast who's out there for the exercise or the experience of being on the water. Having places interesting to go out and look at, points of interest, places to have lunch, places to picnic, places to swim, all add interest to a water trail.
Seeing points of interest on these trails, I like the idea of a heritage trail, and I think that's what this does. It's to me part of a heritage trail with all the history and all. And on the bayou that I'm from in Louisiana, that's pretty much our trail as well, the heritage trail. So it's what people can go and do and learn about the culture and the history of the area.
Lighthouse is just fun because it's that end point. It's the end of the Huron going into the St. Clair River, and once you see that, you know the bridges are coming next, which is, I guess, when I do the tours, our focal point.
I think the importance of water trails to communities is the access to the water. So for so many years, especially in urban areas, we've turned our back to the river, and people haven't realized that the river was there, or they've used it as a dumping ground. So I used to live in Lowell, Massachusetts, and that river was a big industrial river built up right to the edges of the river, and they poured chemicals into it. And now we're making a change, and I think it's because people are noticing their rivers, they're turning their fronts back to them. And so water trails are just one way that we get people coming down to the river, and they're gaining a sense of place.
From up the trail, you could see the the train arch of the signals from a long ways away, and it looked really impressive. And it really adds a lot to the trail, in my opinion. And you don't see these countermeasures and these weights very often. I've never seen anything like it. And to have the real original pieces here is really quite impressive.
We also went to the Riverwalk, and that is a huge demonstration of conservation, because that was a terrible industrial site that was a brownfield, and it couldn't be used for anything. It was dangerous, and they took millions of pounds of debris out of there, and it was privately owned. So now it's public, and it's over a mile of riverfront along an international waterway, and people can kayak it, and there's large boats. It's fishing, it's shore access, it's in the water, it's many different layers of access.
Like I said, there was no public access to the water here at all for 100 years.
I'm finding the history that you all are sharing through this place to be absolutely fascinating. The fact that, here's this narrowing of the channel to think about, it's not freezing over, and that's where the railroad was crossing. And this whole system for actually helping the trains cross is fascinating. I had never heard that this was part of the engineering that helped make these crossings happen. And I'm learning a lot about the role that water trails and blue trails can have in opening up an ethic for conservation and promotion of rivers to audiences that wouldn't otherwise get engaged.
I'm a consultant, so I consult with cities all the time, and a lot of times I think cities don't really appreciate what they have, and they have what I call maybe a kind of a Charlie Brown image. Why would anybody want to come to visit us? Lucy keeps yanking the football every time we try to get money or get people to come. Something happens. Racing whatever they have, whatever it is, a mill district or a canal or a structure, a historic structure or a falls, would help the city improve its self-image. And I approach it as an outsider, and I think people, appreciate that when they hear an outsider say, "You have something that's interesting," it means something to them.
I think really one of the best sessions for me today was talking and thinking about accessibility for paddlers, so kind of building on the session we did last night where we're talking about trying to get all people out on the water, enjoying it, connecting to it, asking questions about it.
Universal access launches like the one that we just saw here in Port Huron are incredibly important because I believe it's around 40% of our population has some kind of limited ability, whether it's someone who's older, someone who has a temporary injury, or someone who is more longer term limited in their ability to paddle and get to the water.
The 7th Street launch that we went to is access to recreation. It really invites people to get on the water in a very easy, accessible way. And also that just shows community support because it was, I think, 9 partners that worked together to put that launch in.
Seeing stuff like this and how to apply, a lot of us all work on water trails and stuff, to see the applicability and have people show us how to work with people in situations. That's why I volunteered to go out there, because I have knee issues. I'm an active guy. I'm a senior by definition, so I got it all, and I wanted to see how that works, which is really cool.
What really sticks out in my mind is the time that we spent at that canoe launch to Black River, to see the investment that was made not only to accommodate a paddler that maybe has done it before, but really to make it accessible for everybody.
Infrastructure, as with any trail project, whether it be on land or whether it be on water, infrastructure is important, but it's also very important that you have programming. So Riverside Kayak Connection about 4 years ago said, okay, we'd like to develop some programming. So we developed an adaptive kayak program, and we started that program through the help of Community Foundation of Southeast Michigan. By the end of this summer, there'll be 3 adaptive kayak launches on the Detroit River, one in Groseal, there's one in Wyandotte, and there's also going to be one on Belle Isle.
Anecdotally, we know that communities that invest in these resources and these amenities are going to see some economic gain from it.
I had never been to Belle Isle until just last month, and I am amazed that it's over 1,000 acres within a few miles of the city of Detroit, and I felt like I was a million miles away.
We could talk about Belle Isle, and it's been overlooked for so many years, and just with some simple improvements, getting the public out You have thousands of people now that are going out to the island. They benefit from seeing the water. They can fish. They have this recreational resource right in their backyard.
We have had a tremendous partnership with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources and with the National Battlefield River Raisin National Battlefield Park. And they have allowed us the opportunity to expose a lot of our urban youth to the great outdoors, to environmental jobs, and to really take advantage of the opportunities that the outdoors provide. The other thing is that we require our kids to understand conservation. We require our kids to understand being good stewards of the land and of the water. And so they were out here on Belle Isle. We have a lot of kids that are placed on Belle Isle. The kids had to then go along the beach and collect the trash. But it wasn't just to pick up trash on the beach. They also had to catalog it. They had to understand where could this be coming from and why. This opportunity to be able to talk about what we do at the National Forum and Water Trails Forum has just been a great opportunity for us.
I'm actually learning a lot of wonderful things. Everything from liability issues to access to signage. It's been worthwhile for sure.
It was an honor to see all of the different programs that were around the country. How creative they were around the country and how they did funding and partnerships. And the key thing is partnerships. You can't do anything by yourselves.
So whether it's because of the history, because of the recreational opportunities, because there's great restaurants near the water, it just brings a lot of people to the river. So trails, water trails alone are just a great strategy for connecting people back to their place.
As we reconnect to these rivers, we're aware again of the importance of these rivers, and we're doing a lot of enhancement to the rivers, like we saw in a number of places on the tour today. But again, you do get, as you develop these things, especially if you are able to get the recognition of a national water trail, it's going to become a place that people are going to want to go and see and paddle and spend some money.
If you're a community that has traditionally built up your downtown and your main street with the back to the river, definitely take a look at turning it around and embrace the river as the new main street.
The standards and the hallmarks of the National Water Trail Program can teach any water trail manager that they need to fulfill, at least have goals to fulfill, get community support for your trail, have public access, have your information out there, have maps. It's a nice, well-rounded look at how a trail should be managed.
So I sort of had an aha moment this week with one of my colleagues. A lot of the water trail program is about the designation, and you get a plaque and you get recognized, and your political folks who are around the river understand that something has happened. And she said to me, well, really, we have all these tools and templates and knowledge about how other people have been connecting to their rivers, and we have an online toolbox, and really that is the meat of the program and what we're offering. We're trying to build a learning network and a mentoring network amongst the water trails so that we can sustain them into the future. So I think other municipalities, when they're looking, they don't have to become national water trails to be able to use the tools that we have.
I love Michigan. I think the people are very friendly. People remind me of the South. They smile, they make eye contact, and it's pretty cool.
I have never seen Lake Huron before. This has been super exciting. I lived on the Great Lakes in Wisconsin for many years, but I never got past Superior and Lake Michigan, so it's been a lot of fun.
I hope that people have been a little inspired by each other and maybe have had a chance to ask a hard question like, who aren't we inviting here, or what are we not doing to help make our river a better place, or is there someplace new we can provide access and safely? So I'm hoping everyone kind of steps away with a new friend and maybe a new question, something that they want to take home and work on.
It was just an honor to have the conference here in Michigan, and we met a lot of good people from all over the country, and we hope to have another one soon.